We are back for the Chris McPherson Show, talking French Open and looking ahead to the matches to watch for Day 8. Certainly looking forward to what is going to be a really promising day of tennis. We're heading into the fourth round now, so a lot on the line. Really looking forward to picking apart. Well, we've been doing 8 games a day. That will be all of the fourth round action across the slate. And of course, we will take in each of those games and talk on some of the key talking points as to how it all shapes up. And look, it would be silly of us not to continue the pattern that we've started, and we'll start with Aussie Watch. And of course, that means one thing. That means Alexei Popyrin in the men's draw. He heads in the 25th seed. He comes up against Tommy Paul. And look, Tommy Paul is in some really good form at the moment. We know that he's been finding really improved performances on the clay. And he will head into this undoubtedly as favourite. We've obviously got a bit of a slant knowing that we are all about the Aussies and Alexei. But at the end of the day, it's going to be a really tough one for Alexei to take on. We know that he's performed well so far with wins over Borges, Tabilo and Nishioka. Straight sets in each of the 3 rounds, which is positive for him. But it's a real step up in class when it comes to taking on Tommy Paul. Look, Tommy Paul leads their head-to-head record 3-1, including a single win on clay in 2021. As I said, Popyrin's shown some real resilience, but he's not a noted clay court performer. We've talked about this before. He's never made it past the second round prior to this year and has 5 consecutive first-round exits. Heading into this year, he'd won 1 from 7 matches at the French Open. Paul, however, he's in strong form. He's boasting a 22-8 record in 2025, a 9-3 mark on clay. I'm just not sure how this shapes up anyway in favour of Alexei Popyrin, the Aussie. I'd love to say it with my heart. I think he might be able to grab a set off Paul, but I just think that Tommy Paul, the American, is going to continue on. The chance that Popyrin does have is if Paul's abdominal injury that he came to the tournament with does flare up, but he seemed to have had no real complaint with it up to this point. He has been strong in his performances, yes. He's had to get into the trenches with Fuchsovics and with Hatchinoff in the last 2 rounds and go to 5 sets, so he might be a little bit tight. He's played a total of 14 sets already versus 9 for Popyrin, but I just think even with all that taken into account that it's going to be Tommy Paul taking this one out, probably in 4 sets. But Popyrin is our only Aussie in action, obviously on day 8. We've just got the 2 Aussies left in the draw as we speak. Next up, Lorenzo Musetti. He's a quasi-hometown. We know the Italians draw a huge following. He's going to come up against Holger Rune. Now, that means an interesting matchup. We know that Rune can play well on clay. He has done previously, and he's made some pretty strong performances in different clay court tournaments when we look through over the years, including a couple of quarterfinals and a 4th round last year. So basically the 4th round's been his worst appearance in his 4 attempts to this point at the French Open. So again, on balance of averages, you would think that Rune would get through. Musetti, though, is continuing to improve, and he's been really impressive. Straight sets wins in the first 2 rounds over Hanfman and Galan. Navone did get the first set off him, but he fought back, and he's made reasonably light work so far. So he's pretty fresh when it comes into this tournament. It'll certainly be interesting to see how he does shape up versus Rune, but I'm actually leaning that Musetti might get it done. Rune has played a 5-setter against Hallis in the last round, and yeah, there's not a lot in this one, but I'm going to lean just to Musetti, not by a lot, the 8th seed to pip the 10th seed and head through to the quarterfinals. Next up, I think this one's going to be a pretty straight shooting sort of affair. Ben Shelton up against Carlos Alcaraz. Alcaraz has never lost to Shelton. This will be their first meeting on clay, however. It's one of those situations where, despite the fact that Shelton's got that big, powerful serve, clay's not his preferred surface. It doesn't suit him as well. Carlos, the defending champion, he had a tough 3rd round match. We do note that when we have a look at these matches that he's played, that he has dropped a set against Marizan. He did drop that set and have a bit of a bump against Zamur, who we know can be a bit of a tricky player as well. While you look at Shelton, and he's made reasonably light work of the last 2 rounds. He had a walkover in round 2, Gigante in round 3 in straight sets. He did have tough work against Sonego, and that was probably a challenging one that's really pushed him through. So he's certainly going to be fresh, but Alcaraz will be fresh as well. And I just don't see how the world number 2 goes down here. Alcaraz should win this one, probably in straight sets. Shelton might be able to claw one off him if he can come out of the gates really hard, but everything stacks towards a Carlos Alcaraz dominant victory here. The final match for us in the day's 8 sessions of the 4th round, we'll see Francis Tiafoe of America taking on Daniel Altmaier. Altmaier, an unseeded player, the German, is currently ranked well outside the seedings when you look at it. Currently around the space of the 60s in the rankings. He has been as high as 47. This is by far his best performance alongside his 2020 4th round at the French Open. Clay is probably his best surface. But this is going to be a huge ask. This is a huge opportunity for Francis Tiafoe. He has won their only meeting on clay. He has not lost to Altmaier previously. Look, Altmaier can take it to him. Would it be an outrageous upset for him to win it? No, but I just think Tiafoe's athleticism and probably experience are going to give him the edge in this one. And I think he'll get it done and head through to the quarterfinals. Again, Tiafoe, it's a really good opportunity for him. He's not someone who's probably been the most consistent across his career. And, when we have a look back, he hasn't been renowned on the clay, having not made it past the 3rd round, previously just one 3rd round appearance. He's been strong at the US Open in recent years, 2 semi-finals and a quarterfinal, and just 1 quarterfinal at the Aussie. So this would be, I guess, a bit of a progression of his career, and I really think he can get it done here. So I think Tiafoe will get this one done in 4. Next up, we've got the women's singles, and again, 4 matches there, and there's some interesting ones. Let's start with the Italian, Jasmine Paolini. Paolini will come up against Elena Svitolina. Svitolina has won their only previous meeting earlier this year, but Paolini's having a breakthrough season, reaching a career-high ranking. Look, Svitolina, we know she is a really formidable opponent. She's very challenging, very tough, and going to be hard for Paolini to beat. But I'm going to lean to Paolini, not with a lot of confidence here. The experience of Svitolina up against the youthful exuberance of Paolini. And as I said, Paolini's just shown us some positive pieces in recent times as she continues to build on this progress that she's had. We saw her at the Italian Open recently. She won the singles and the double. She's in really good form coming in. She played at Madrid, made it through to the round of 32 with an upset loss there to Sakkari, which could be a bit of a blip on the radar, but I think that she'll get it done here. She'll have the support as well of the home crowd, whereas Svitolina is probably going to be a little bit on the outer there. The Ukrainian, she's always popular, but the Italians tend to draw a little bit more support. Someone who will not be short of support when we have a look at this side of the women's draw. And it's interesting to note this half of the women's draw, only one of the top 16 seeds that are in this half has not made it through to the 4th round, and we'll get to that in a moment. But in this one, it is the predicted matchup based on the seedings, and it is Iga Swiatek, the 3-time reigning champion, comes up against Elena Rybakina. Rybakina beat Elena Ostapenko. Many were looking forward to that matchup. Swiatek up against Ostapenko, the 21st seed, but Rybakina made reasonably easy work in straight sets 2 and 2. She hasn't had too much of a battle. She did drop 1 set in the 1st round. I think Swiatek's just warming into this. We know she hasn't been in great form over the last 12 months, but this is a matchup that is going to be challenging. It's not going to be easy for her. She would have preferred Rybakina, I feel, to Ostapenko, but not by a huge amount. Either way, it's going to be a tough outing. We know that. But I'm going to go Swiatek here. She's on a 24-match winning streak. She's got phenomenal form on the Roland Garros clay. It's a 24-match winning streak, I should say, at the French Open. And so I just think that she's going to get this done. And I'm actually going to tip her to get this done in straight sets and just blow Rybakina away. If she comes out of the gates early, Iga, then that will be a great start and a great way to secure her progression through to the quarterfinals. The second last match we'll go through is Ludmila Samsonova, the 19th seed. She's the one that's come through. Dana Schneider, the Russian, missed out on this. She was knocked out in the 2nd round. Samsonova comes through the 19th seed, where she'll take on Zhong Xin Wen. Samsonova, interestingly, does lead their head-to-head 3-2. So that's an interesting, I guess, a lineup with the two of them. However, Zhang's won their only clay court encounter. Zhang's the reigning Olympic champion. She's been in excellent form. She reached the 4th round without dropping a set. So it's certainly going to be interesting. We know Samsonova reached the final of the WTA 500 in Strasbourg, so she can play on clay courts as well. This one's a really hard one for me. We've seen some good from Samsonova. I think, though, that Zhong Xin Wen is just going to be that little bit fresher in this one, and I'm expecting her to get it done. Maybe this will be the first time that she is really challenged, and I guess it could be the first time that we see her dropping a set throughout the tournament thus far, so we'll keep an eye on it. But, I'm going to go with Zhang to get this one done in 3. And then finally, the number 1 seed, Arina Sabalenka, comes up against Amanda Anisimova. That huge and powerful backhand. This is going to be a power clinic on the clay. Anisimova does lead the head-to-head 5-2, including defeating Sabalenka in 2019. But most of these wins come back in the pre-world number 1 Sabalenka era, which I think is a really crucial fact to consider here. For Sabalenka, she is in absolutely impervious form when you have a look at her. She is 37-6 so far this season, while Anisimova's more on the comeback trail. I think it would be fair to say she did have a good win over Clara Towson, a highly touted talent, I guess you'd call her, in the last round. Didn't have it all her own way. She blew away Golubic in the second round and a win over Stojanovic in the first round, which ended up in a walkover. So she should be reasonably fresh. For Sabalenka, as I said, that form this season so far has been absolutely electric. She's been one of the form players and leads the rankings by such a distance. We know the Madrid tournament, which is quite often a good lead-in form. Ghana, she beat Coco Gauff in the final there. She made it through to the quarterfinals of the Italian Open. She did lose that to Zhang Xinwen, who we just spoke about. But she's been absolutely electric across a lot of these tournaments, playing Ostapenko as well in the final of Stuttgart. So a really good lead-in for her. When we have a look at how she's gone in the earlier rounds, she's managed to get those done in straight sets. So far, she's only dropped 10 games across 3 matches. She's going to be fresh as. I think this one's going to be an absolute arm wrestle, but I think Sabalenka will get it done either in 2 tight sets or possibly 3 sets, but I can't see Anisimova having enough to take it to Sabalenka that she takes 2 sets off her. So that's the tips. That's how I see it breaking down. We're hoping to have Christian Monaghan from the first serve back tomorrow so we can get a bit more of a dialogue rather than a monologue. But for today, that's closing out for the Chris McPherson Show, our Day 8 preview of the French Open. A big thank you for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe on the podcast platform that you tuned in on, and we look forward to bringing you more action for day 9, round 4 of the French Open again tomorrow.